It's the Super Bowl 56 is right around the corner. So we have our predictions for our against the spread, money line picks, and over under, plus a ton of props that will make your Super Bowl party a ton of fun. And it's all coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Hey, Eric, I want to talk about what we just witnessed again this last weekend of this fabulous playoffs run. But before I do it, I want to make sure our viewers know that we have a couple of shows for them in addition to this prop bets. You will have seen we have a FanDuel show, and we also are doing a DraftKings show after being in hibernation for a few weeks there. But Eric, let's talk a little bit about the games this last week. Oh my gosh, we just continue to see these crazy games. What do you have to say?
I have to say that the NFL is awesome. Even though my Seahawks have long since been eliminated, but I still am glued to the TV. These games have been so good, so interesting, and at times unpredictable. But I want to quickly say that at the beginning of the season, I did make a prediction that the Rams would win the Super Bowl. And both you and I said that at the beginning of the playoffs, when no one was thinking the Rams had a very good shot, said the Rams would win the Super Bowl. To give you a quick reminder. So my pick right here to be the Super Bowl champion is the LA Rams. What team do you think will win the Super Bowl? All right, let's reveal. Don't look at this. You're not going to like this, Dave. Did you have doubts, though, Michael, in that San Francisco Ram game? The Rams were down almost the entire game.
Yeah, well, starting with the almost collapse against the Bucs the week before, I was a little bit nervous about some of the play calling and some of the approach in the game. But I was really surprised that the Niners were handling the defensive rush from the Rams. But then when it cut to the sideline and we saw Aaron Donald kind of preaching to that defense, I just felt like they were going to put the hammer down on Garoppolo. And that's exactly what they did. So we're going to bring in our resident expert for prop bets, my good friend Aaron Dean. Let's invite him in. Coming from my hometown of Visalia, California, we played football together in high school. We've coached together. Aaron's been coaching probably longer than I have across various sports, and is my buddy when we go to Las Vegas and make some of our decisions. So if you have been with us for a while, you saw Aaron join us around this time last year. In fact, I think we talked about prop bets last year as well, right, Aaron?
I believe so. We did all right a couple of weeks ago when we were in Vegas. So I'm excited about this week's show.
Michael, what we're going to do is we're going to take a number of prop bets. But before we get to the prop bets, let's do the basic one, which is the main odds for the 2022 Super Bowl. The spread, the money line, and over under. Just as a reminder, the spread it started at 3.5. It's inched up to 4. It's even 4.5 in some places. The Rams are favored. Remember, the Rams are at home. Just lucky that they host the Super Bowl this year, regardless of who is going to be in it. They're home 4-point favorites over the Bengals. If you don't want to deal with the spread, just want the money line, you can pick the Rams 200. Risk $200 to win 100, or the Bengals to outright win, risk 100 to win 170, or you can just pick the over 48.5 total points by both teams are under. Aaron, of all these options, tell us, you are our guru. Which one do you like the most and why?
So the one I'm most intrigued about is actually the line. I felt like when it came out, it was way too low. I felt like the Los Angeles Rams are definitely the prohibitive favorite in this particular matchup. Their defensive line matches up really, really well against the porous offensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals. But there's just something about Joe Cool and his just moxie and just the things that he has, the tools that he just has, the it factor. So somehow or another, I think Vegas is trying to say this is maybe a little trap bet. But to be honest with you, I really feel like the Los Angeles Rams defense is going to be just a little bit too much for this particular team in Cincinnati. I felt like Cincinnati's probably 2 years ahead of schedule. I really do. They still need some more parts. They're a really good, solid team. But I felt like they've had some breaks along the way, and some teams have really kind of shot themselves in the foot for them to capitalize on some of their mistakes and move along in this eventful playoffs that we've had. But if I'm going to put money down on this, I think Rams win this by more than a touchdown, to be honest with you. I think it's 7 to 10 points. And if you think that the Rams are going to blow out the team, you may want to double dip that parlay and go the over as well. And just give the points and take the over and parlay that together. But it's just going to go with a straight bet. I just take that, lay the 4 points all day.
Michael, what do you think? Which one do you like the most?
Yeah, so I mean, can lightning strike 3 times for the Bengals? It struck, early in the season against the Chiefs when they were down, or not that early. It was week 17. It struck again this last week. Everybody knew the Chiefs was going to win that game. There wasn't a soul who was going to bet on the Bengals to come back. And lightning struck. No idea what happened. Did Mahomes have somebody calling, a gun to his wife's head or what? But he looked horrible in that second half. I can't believe that lightning will strike again. The Rams are the better team here. They really should win this game. I like Aaron's mention of the parlay bet as well. It is really tempting with how Joe Cool has been to go with that money line for the Bengals. Because if it's going to be less than 4, why not just bet on the Bengals? But I agree with Aaron here. I think the Rams will take care of business. They're going to have plenty of time to prepare to make sure they don't make some of the same mistakes that we just saw. Their defense is just too good. And the Bengals defense is not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just going to pile on here. I think I've liked the Rams from the beginning of the season. And, the Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, and Kansas City all outgained Cincinnati in the playoffs. Rams are the better team. Aaron mentioned it earlier. I really think the Rams defensive line is going to dominate the Bengals offensive line. It's going to force some mistakes. I'm not worried about the spread because I think they're ripping us off on the money line. So I think they're going to win by more than 4. So I will pick the spread. If there is a disagreement, because I think the Rams defense is going to dominate, I like the spread first, but I would go under on the over-under line. I think that the Rams are going to try to, if they get up, will ground and pound and run the ball and milk that clock. So any other comments from either of you about any of these lines?
No.
Fair enough.
All right. So QB statistics. I'll lead off this time because I got a wacky one. I am going to pick on young, healthy Joe Burrow to deal with the strong pass rush that the Rams are going to give him and see him actually scramble for some yards, more than 11. I think he can do that on one play. Last week, he had 5 rushes for 25 yards. I think the Bengals are going to be behind in this game, so I think they're going to go drop back and throw a lot. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for him to scramble. Now, look, I understand they're not going to do design runs for Joe Burrow, but I think that there is going to be opportunity for him to scramble. 11 yards is too small. So that's my pick on this. Michael?
Yeah, to me, that's the safest bet on here as well, is that he will get over 11 yards. You don't let your quarterbacks like Joe Burrow run during the regular season because you got to keep them healthy. But those rules don't apply when it comes to a Super Bowl game like this. In fact, the only way that the Bengals, I think, can stay in this game, given that the Rams do go man-to-man a fair amount, is for Burrow to use his legs. I think Stafford, passing yards would be my number 2, but I don't want to go too far. I'll pass it to Aaron, see what he's liking.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think 11 rushing yards is stealing money. It's about as easy as it gets. And people, that aren't familiar with the NFL rules and say they're more familiar with college rules, where it differs from college and the NFL is that sacks don't count against the rushing yards. So, when people think, oh crap, I think they're going to blow them apart. Tennessee sacked them 9 times. So that doesn't matter. So every positive yard he picks up rushing stays in that column and it doesn't go backwards if he eats, a few sacks. So at the end of the day, Joe Burrow is probably going to be scrambling a little bit for his life back there. And I could definitely see him, Eric, you're right. In one play, it'll probably happen 11 yards, no problem.
Oh. All right. So I guess it must be my turn to go first since I haven't gone yet. So here we're looking at our running backs, Mixon and Akers, and whether or not they can go over or will stay under these rushing yard totals or pass receiving yard totals. So as I look at this, I think Akers is scary in the passing game. He's just not getting involved. I'm afraid of both of them in the running game, unless, of course, the script goes is some are expecting and the Rams get up a lot. I think Mixon receiving yards is the safest bet here. So that's what I would feel most comfortable going with. What do you think, Aaron?
I totally, completely agree. He'll probably end up with 5 catches, maybe 6. You're going to get a lot of dump offs, quick passes to the flat, just for the simple fact that I think he's going to be getting rushed up the center, a lot, and going to collapse that pocket pretty quick. He's not going to have anywhere to run per se. And getting out. So I think he will dump that off pretty quick to Joe Mixon. The rushing yards, those are pretty good numbers right there. Vegas did their homework on that one. I feel like that's a really hard one to really kind of say, yes, this is definitely an over, or this is definitely an under. But the receiving yards definitely over for the 26 yards.
And I might say, sorry, Eric, before you chime in, I might go so far as to say that the Bengals will have watched the last couple of games that the Rams have played and said, we got to put in some screens to the running back. Yeah. We got to throw some deliberate passes to Mixon on the outside, or we got no chance. Yeah, so it's not even just scrambling. Mm-hmm. Eric?
Yeah, so I have no problem with your guys over on the 26 rushing yards for Mixon, but it's not my favorite play on the board. It's Cam Akers and rushing for 63.5 yards. Do you guys know that 7 of the last 8 Bengal opponents, they've given up over 100 yards rushing? And Cam Akers is the primary back. And I think with another 2 weeks of rest, he will. Now, some may be fooled, be able to say, hey, look what Sonny Michel did last week. He got some more carries. Well, Akers got hurt in the middle of that game, and that allowed Michel to get more carries than he otherwise would have. Again, game script. If you disagree with me, and all 3 of us actually, and don't think the Rams are going to win by much more than 4 points, then I just think the Rams are going to be ahead, and they will run the ball, and they'll run the ball with Akers. And I think he's going to eclipse 63. He hasn't yet this year, but I think he will this game.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. Wide receiver. I'm afraid that we are going to once again we've been agreeing all over the place. Look, it is tempting to go after Cooper Kupp, right? 105 yards. Feels like it's very doable. Mike, if you told me that this was going to be a back and forth and the Bengals will definitely be in the game, that's where I would go. But I really think this could be, I think we've been blessed so far with a lot of close games. I think the Super Bowl could be a blowout for the Rams. And because of that, I'd rather go with T. Higgins at 69 yards. Why do I say that? I just think that T. Higgins is going to be a really important target for Joe Burrow. They're going to get behind. And I think that the Ram rushing attack, defensive line will put a lot of pressure on him. A lot of long passes he's not going to have the time to do that. So who is the guy that they're going to target on the shorter routes? It's going to be T. Higgins.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and go next here. And I think that, to Aaron's comment on the last one, Vegas has done a really good job coming up with the yardage totals here that are really kind of not sure which way it will lean. I think Chase, the Rams will learn a little bit from what's happened the last few weeks against the Bengals, and they won't go so double teaming on Chase, which could free him up. But they're going to put Jalen Ramsey on him, and that will slow him down. And so even though I think he'll produce more than he has these last couple of weeks, I feel like that 80-yard target is probably the perfect spot to keep him hard to read. So for me, it's T. Higgins again. I think he's not going to draw Jalen Ramsey because of where he plays on the field, and there's going to be dump offs to him. So I think that's the most comfortable bet, over or under here, to go Higgins over. Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. T. Higgins is definitely the play. He's a big, tall, wide out, great hands, does a lot of dirty work over the middle. And, it's the quarterback's best friend, especially with, it looked like a pretty devastating injury to their tight end. They're definitely going to have to work themselves in between the hashes. And T. Higgins kind of stepped up and fulfilled that role this last particular game against Kansas City and made a lot of big catches across the middle. One missed tackle and he's off to the races for a 40 spot. So, he'll get a lot of little catches in that 15 to 20 yard range, right into his average for the season. I did some homework on him as well. This playoffs, it's interesting is he's averaged 69.7 yards per game in the playoffs, and the number is at 69. So they got it marked right on the money, but I really think he goes over as well. If I had to pick another, it would be Odell Beckham as well. I feel like Cooper Kupp is going to draw a lot of over coverage on him. They're going to bracket him a little bit more. It'll come down to whoever's playing tight end, whether it be Higbee or the Blanton kid that came in and kind of rescued the day for the Rams this last go around. But Odell Beckham's, he's averaging almost 80 yards a game in the playoffs. And it feels like he's really kind of caught his rhythm with the Rams. And I really feel like that when those two for me are the bets here of going over.
I just want to emphasize something Aaron said, because I think it is so important, is CJ Uzomah has been such an important part of the Bengals passing attack. Drew Sample, who will be his replacement, is not going to give.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not going to give you that same production. So it's got to go somewhere, and I think it's likely to go to Higgins. So. All right. We once again look. We got a lot of group thing. Okay, we got a lot of options here. A lot of options. I have a feeling we're going to have some disagreement here. So the question is, who is going to score a touchdown? Right. So you could either bet only on who is going to score the first touchdown of the game. Obviously, since only one player is going to do that, you get some great odds for that. Or is that player going to score a touchdown at any time? Notice Cooper Kupp, you have to put $165 down just to win 100 if you say Cooper Kupp scores a touchdown. Whose turn is it?
It's Aaron's. You're up, Aaron.
Okay. Well, I would never put money on who's going to score first. That's such a sucker bet. Unless you just had money to just totally burn, right? But score anytime, your best bet to me would be the running backs. Both Mixon and Akers, I think, will punch one in. The high likelihood of them, even catching a dump off, around the 15-yard line and breaking a tackle and scooting in is also something that's pretty likely. The wide receivers, I mean, how can you not go with Cooper Kupp? But you're obviously having to bet 165 to win 100. So if I had to bet and put money on this, I would go with either one of the running backs to punch one in.
Okay, my name is Eric Lee, and I believe in sucker bets. So I am going to go with the first touchdown of the game being Cooper Kupp. And I get $550 for my $100. I like that. So as I've said over and over, and we all are really high on the Rams. So we think the Rams are going to win. So I think it's more likely the Rams score first. And as the game goes on, I think the Rams are going to do more on the ground. But opening the game, I think they're going to rely. I think Stafford's going to rely on his safety valve, the guy he's relied on all year long, Cooper Kupp. And I'm going to get 5.5 to 1. I like this. Michael?
That is good value.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to go with Kupp, then it's tempting to look at that first touchdown bet. And last week he scored first in that game, right? But you know, he actually, you know, the Rams should have punched the ball in on the ground early in the game, and they didn't. They threw that, you know, bounce interception. So I actually would go with Mixon here, feeling like of everyone on this list to get an anytime touchdown, he's the most likely to score for his team.
Oh, wait a minute. So you're not going with the sucker bet, Mixon for the
no,
first score?
I'm with Aaron. I am. I feel like it's the first touchdown are sucker bets. You could have a kickoff return. It's happened in the Super Bowl plenty of times, and all of a sudden you're ticked off that the guy that's not even on here, you know, had a chance. Yeah, there's not a lot of kickoffs going back these days because they go in the end zone. But I would go with Mixon anytime.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what are you going to do with that $10 you win? So you can't buy a Subway footlong these days. All right. I'm not bitter. Okay.
Hey,
so
you'll still have money though to buy that footlong, where that sucker bet maybe not.
All right. So these are some really neat, interesting yes/no questions. Will any quarter be scoreless? Last play of the game be QB kneel? Will the game be tied ever at any score, tied after 0-0? And will there be overtime? One would think that was a sucker bet, but lately we've had a lot of overtime games. I think I'm up on this one. Am I?
Go ahead.
I actually feel more confident of this than any other prop bet. I do not understand this. So remember, I think the Rams are going to win, and they're going to win plenty. That means it's almost certain that the last play is going to be the Rams kneeling on the ball. It's maybe you guys can enlighten me why. Maybe this is a sucker bet that I'm not seeing, but I feel very good. I know I have to lay 130 to win 100, but man, I feel really confident that about this one.
I would agree with you there. I think there is going to be a QB that kneels, and that will be Matthew Stafford. I also do believe, though, that will any quarter be scoreless? There's a high probability of that occurring. Usually in every Super Bowl, that first quarter is pretty low scoring. You typically get a 3-0, 7-0, 7-3, 0-0 type game, and then it kind of just gets wacky from the second quarter on. So I could see the teams both kind of feeling each other out initially in that first quarter, and maybe just, you know, with the Rams being juiced at home, maybe trying to do a little bit too much. And, you know, I think that while a lot of people think that might be a huge advantage for them to be at home, I also do think that there's more distractions being at home. More people are able to get to you and ask you for all these little favors versus, you know, Cincinnati being on the road and they're not as accessible. So I do think that you will have some wonkiness, I think, from the Rams early on, and then they just kind of hit their groove in the second quarter and motor right through.
You definitely get a good return. $380 for your $100 and it's any quarter. Doesn't have to be the first quarter. Michael.
Yeah, that's it. To me, that's the only thing that makes that tempting is the you know, the odds there and what you get for your money. But I would agree that it's not a sucker bet. You know, yeah, there are plenty of games where teams are down and the end of the game ends with them still trying to move the ball and you know, get that last score. But he, you know, in most of those games, a high percentage, which is why the odds are where they at. there's some last minute turnover and there's at least one kneel that is required. So I would go last play of the game to be a kneel for the Rams. Yes.
Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about it. What do you guys think? You can be the Pittsburgh Steelers and be praying that there is no overtime on the last game when they were watching the Raiders Chargers. But you'd have to bet $2,000 just to win $100. What do you guys think of that? If I made you bet, will there be overtime? Which way would you bet?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I we have been seeing it. I think I would just, I would put $100 for the hope of 950 because it just doesn't ever make sense to bet $2,000 to make $100.
No, for sure. I'm with Michael on that one too. Plus, with the playoffs that we've had this year, I think every single game got an overtime. That's
it feels
at least
like
what it
right?
feels like. So that's not a bad bet.
All right. And what the heck? We'll do the last one as well. Will the game be tied after 0-0? What's neat about this is any score could at one point be tied. Now, a team can overtake another one. And I'm assuming that if a team is up 13-7, that a touchdown doesn't count as a tie because you have to wait until they kick the extra point, and if they make it, it doesn't count as a tie. What do you guys think about that one? If I made you bet,
if I had to pick one, I guess I would go yes, with the possibility of a 3-3 or 7-7 game after, the beginning of the game.
I think this is going to be a blowout, so I would say no.
Mm-hmm.
Try and make that extra $100. Yeah.
Okay. Not bad.
But okay. All right. Here's the big one. Who will be the Super Bowl MVP? Now, we all know there's a huge bias to quarterbacks, and that's why Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow have such low odds. But what are your guys' thoughts?
I think Aaron Donald at 2,000. I mean, give me a break. That, to me, is real value. I was looking at the guy had 12.5 sacks this year. Another team that Cincinnati had a lot of trouble with was Tennessee Titans. And even last weekend, you saw it too. Tennessee Titans with, Justin Simmons at the defensive tackle spot, picked himself up 3 sacks. Last week against the Chiefs, Chris Jones seemed to be in the backfield more than any other player on that defensive line. It seemed like it was every other play. I can't imagine Aaron Donald. I mean, obviously defensive linemen don't typically win the MVP. The last known one, I believe, was Von Miller, his teammate, with the Broncos, won the MVP. And I believe he had 2 or 3 sacks and one of them was a strip sack. So that's something that Aaron Donald can definitely do in this particular game. I think he's going to be good for 3 sacks. One of them maybe a big turnover that it might cause a scoop and a score for one of his teammates, or a sack in the end zone for a safety, be kind of a momentum changer. To me, $100 to win $2,000 is kind of that's a good one for me. I think he's going to live in the backfield all day.
Aaron, you like Aaron Darnold.
I do. I love the name. Aaron. It's awesome.
And so do I. I thought I was going to be the odd one. And all of us like him to a certain extent. Both Aaron and I like him a lot. Look, Joe Burrow was sacked 51 times this year, more than anybody else. And the Rams had the 3rd most sacks of anybody, led by Aaron Donald. I think the Rams are going to win. So I'm going to cross out Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and any other Bengal. But I think that the Rams defense is what's going to control. I don't think you're going to see Matthew Stafford with a huge game. If it's going to be lopsided like I expect it to be, then I think that they're going to run the ball a lot and melt the clock and rely on their defense. So I don't think you'll see a huge game from Stafford, and even a huge game from Kupp or from Akers, who's not even on this list. So I think Aaron Donald, Aaron would have said him if he was $1,000, and now I get 2,000.
Yeah,
bargain of the year.
Hey, let me just add one thing. If you're going to go, I know most casinos don't let prop bets be part of parlays, but if you're going to go with the money line on the Bengals and go for that, nice money that's there, why not say Burrow? I mean, if the Bengals win, there's no question that Burrow, in my mind, will be the MVP. So why not? If you're going to go with money line on the Bengals, why not parlay this on top of it?
If they only would let you parlay prop bets, but that's definitely not going to be the case. But
thank you all to the community. I'll be back with a DraftKings show when that's ready. That'll be on the screen right now. If you missed it, we also did a FanDuel slate show for the Super Bowl. That's on the screen as well. Until we see you in the next video, take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.